And without further ado, let me introduce you to the SAG-nominated cast that we have here tonight of Belfast. First up, he plays Pop, the wonderful Ciarán Hinds. And as Pa, Jamie Dorman. Right, and as Ma, Caitriona Balfe. Please welcome the man the reason we're all here, writer, director, producer of Belfast, Kenneth Branagh. And I would love the outstanding cast. Everyone's amazing. This is the love for movies that you just had at a very young age. And putting this together today, where it's just announced the whole month of February, they're going to be doing a tribute to Kenneth Branagh, and not only this film, but all the movies, inspirations, if you haven't, so you can go and see a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on the big screen, and 1 million years BC, all these things.
It's a relish about being able to, having the privilege of being able to work during this extraordinary time, and I think just there's a very sort of honest approach that I've seen in all of their work, and in their this combination, which was really a lovely thing to witness, of both obviously trying to ask a few questions of me about maybe the characters who inspired this, but also really the first time we met being very able to share stories of their own families and bring that and really own the characters. And I think one of the real thrills about the way the film has been received is that it has travelled way beyond Belfast, in the sense that the specificity of its setting there seems to be the thing that releases this universal connection. And I think that comes from the human dimension that Caitriona and Jamie and Ciarán and the two Judes, young Jude and slightly less young Jude, bring to it. So I was very, very lucky. Although I have to say that one thing that was pretty thrilling, it's the only time that it's happened to me in my entire career as a would-be film director, is that in the pandemic, is that when you were attempting to cast it, suddenly everybody was available. I mean, that was pretty exciting. You knew you were going to get to people pretty quickly.
So you got them for a price, is what you're saying?
We can't talk about that kind of stuff yet.
I'm so glad you were all available, and I think I'm the only one on the stage that's either not from Belfast or not right down the road from Belfast here. You all have that connection, which I think adds, Caitriona, being close to, you're in a movie here set in a place you actually know well.
Yeah, well, I'm from down the road, which to me wasn't very far, but they'll all say I'm from way, way down the road. Yeah, I grew up right on the border. I spent a lot of time in Belfast. My sister went to university there. We would travel in and out of the north on a weekly basis. So, you grow up with sort of the troubles and as a backdrop to your life when you've grown up in Ireland, especially in the border. And it's different to obviously the experience in Belfast, but it's still, I think, forms you. And when I read this script first, I instantly sort of recognized Ma. I recognized my mother in her, but I recognized women that I knew from Ireland, from the area that I was in, and there was such a ferocity to her, but I I loved the way that she was quick to laugh, but quick to anger. You know, those are things that I knew very well from home. But it's that just real vibrancy that sort of a lot of the women that I grew up with, that I knew. And it was just this beautiful, I think, human story that told the story of real ordinary families who didn't ask for this thing that was going on around them, which was kind of how I grew up. My parents were not people who wanted us to sort of be tribal in any way. They were ordinary family who kind of had to try and navigate us through having sectarianism around us. So, those are things that I really responded to in the script.
And you have such great chemistry with the whole family, but that guy right next to you there, Jamie, I mean, the two of you, and I don't know how much rehearsal time you got or how much bonding time you got to be a family, but man, you look like you've been a family, your whole life here. Jamie, talk about that and developing that chemistry here within this film.
It's weird, Pete, because I feel like we've spent all this extra time together now that if we filmed it again would be even better. The family unit is just like growing, like, the bonus of having a film that is getting this much love and attention is we're getting to spend all this extra time together, and it's a beautiful thing, but like so much of that felt very immediate when we all met each other. I'd met Caitriona at TIFF about 3 years ago. We've had other work there, and it was a quick introduction. And I said I never want to work with her because she's too tall. And then here we are. It helps. I met you socially before, I remember in Budapest a long time ago. But what helps is having a commonality with all being from the same very small place. It does just do a lot of the groundwork for you, I think, in terms of understanding each other, understanding the soul of the people from that place, literally understanding each other, like how you talk, getting the nuances of the humour and the darkness of the humour from that part of the world. All of that helps to galvanise the family, and speaking purely about Caitriona, it was just easy. It was just so easy from the beginning. And our first day we had to do a dance rehearsal together, and we were both not good dancers. And terrified, and again that was just this sort of wall, shattering situation of we're in this together, and then it was just easy from there on.
And I have to say, your father actually died before he could see the movie of COVID, very, very sadly, without seeing it, but he knew you were going to be in it, and this performance, it seems, is a big tribute to him as well.
You can try to make me cry for It's been a while since I've cried at a Q&A, but I've done it a few times on this journey. Listen, it breaks my heart that he's not able to see my dad. I'm from Belfast, Dad's from Belfast. His dad, I'm only from a long line of men from this city. And okay, thanks. Yeah, he would have been proud, but I take comfort in the fact that he knew I was doing it, and I was working with these great players around me, and finally working with people that he knew.
And Ciarán, the great Ciarán Hinds here. You just so embody pop, and obviously getting to work with Judi Dench, who I think you've worked with her 12 times, so many times, but it's such a touching kind of relationship there between the two.
I guess it would be churlish of me to say that Ken inflicted Judi Dench on me. But when he did say that, when he asked me to be part of the project, and I only needed to read a few pages to know that it smacked of truth and authenticity and a real soul and an understanding of the culture that we come from. But when he threw Dame Judy into the mix, there was no way out, really. There was no backing out after that, because she's and then when actually the reality of getting to work with her was, for me, it's not the word scary, but it's like frightening. Because she's so bloody good. I mean, she's so extraordinary, and can just turn on a dime or a cent from one thing to the other. And so to be able to play with her, to be able to actually become deeply entrenched in a relationship with her, that we would be, like in that relationship, would be 50 years together. And we had this agreement, and we didn't have to say who was doing what, but we kind of came to an agreement that one of us would go up a few years and the other would come down a few years and would meet vaguely in the middle. And that, when I saw the film for the first time, that seemed to be what Ken had encapsulated in their relationship, that they had been together a long time and they were very stoic together, but there was deep, deep love that in Judy's case it now turned into tolerance of me. But that can only come from a very loving place, I think.
Yeah, well, you know, she's amazing. I just got to interview her via Zoom from where she was in England, and she said, Ken, that she is not old enough to play your grandmother.
Well, what they say about Cleopatra, which she played brilliantly, age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety. And she does have, she's a timeless classic, Judi Dench. It's as simple as she's timeless and she's ageless. And in fact, the two youngest spirited people on the crew seem to be Jude Hill and Judi Dench. And she made a beeline for young Jude on the first day of rehearsal, because it seemed like she knew already that relationship, that cross-generational relationship, was going to be vitally important. And it was such fun to see. For instance, she was just maybe as a result of all that theatre training, I think that actually Judy is very, very free in front of a camera. Every take is like a rehearsal. You can be different every time. And she loves being surprised. And so when we, I don't know if you remember this, but when we showed the visits to the cinema, part of the general policy was that we would never really rehearse with young Jude if we could help it, because we always wanted to capture whatever he was seeing for the first time, including his reaction to these films, which he'd never seen. And frankly, Judy hadn't either, had she? Judy did. She never goes to the pictures. I mean, she says Bambi finished her off when she was 7. Once Bambi's mum died, she never returned to a cinema. So it's true. So they were both, so the two of them were like naughty school kids, you know. So there's a shot in the movie with Jude throwing his head back, like she's tickled him, and it's because Judi Dench says another rude thing in his ear, and having seen a bit of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang for the first time. So they were like the two naughty kids at the back of the class, and that's one of the reasons why Judi Dench is so ageless, because she has that childlike capacity to be present, just like young Jude Hill, in fact. Here brings to it by way of expressions of love, heart in the performances, and also I would say great naturalism. There's one of the things that's been a thrill, and it is down to my distinguished colleagues here, is how much people have commented on sense of authenticity in the delivery. You know, that there's no. I don't wish to speak immodestly, but it seems to me anyway that there are, in my viewing of this work, that there's no phony notes. And that's a wonderful tribute. If you've done something personal and you're trying to present versions of people that were inspired by your parents or your grandparents, it's amazing. On that very same, well, I'll come back to one thing she did was a scene with Jamie and Kieran and young Jude. And although we were on a tight schedule, and although COVID and its protocols meant, and Jude's young person's acting hours were limited, we were always rigorous. If we needed to, and if the film, as it often did, decided to shoot things all in one, which in this case, 4 people walking down a back entry, all got dialogue. We played in one, and we'd average 3, 4, 5 takes, maybe. And then this, do you remember how many takes we did of that one?
Well, I thought it was 12, but then you came out and said it was 26.
26. And you know why it was 26? Because at about 18, Jamie was saying to Kieran, he said, we've got it, I don't think we've got it. I think we've got it. Jesus Christ, how many times? But then Jamie, being the gentleman he is, of course, realised they were talking without asking Judy, and he then said, what do you think, Judy? And Judy didn't really say anything, and Kieran said, she thinks we should do it again. And she did, and so it was Judy who went to take 26. But on that last shot, she stood, and we had lines written, but I asked her to improvise a bit. I threw some lines at her. She kept, where she's that massive close-up, she stood still. She was just completely unflappable. She just kept saying it again, and different versions. And as I was watching her, it seemed as though the meaning of it was getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And then she said what you saw tonight in the film. And I said, cut. Okay, so I'm just going to go and check. Judy, hold it. That seemed to me to be very good. I'm just going to go and check with the sound and the video monitor. Just play me that. Tell me we haven't messed that up. Tell me. Just play. And then I hear it and I go, oh no, what is that sound? What is that bloody sound on the soundtrack? And Denisia, the sound recorder, said, so that is your intake of breath when she did the last take. That was me going, because I'd just seen some great acting. Unfortunately, like an idiot, I'd left it on the soundtrack. Thank God for post-production.
That's great. For sure. And I would add love of movies, too. If ever there's a movie that I've seen in recent times that you can just see the love for movies that you obviously had at a very young age, and you bring it right back to today. American Cinematheque just announced the whole month of February they're going to be doing a tribute to Kenneth Branagh, and not only this film, but all the movies inspirations that you have in it, so you can go and see a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on the big screen, and 1 million years BC, all these things.
It's a